The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was a sight that still amazed visitors after centuries of operation. The massive sphere floated in orbit around Zentara Prime, its walls made of transparent metal that showed the stars beyond. 47 species had seats in this chamber, each represented by their finest diplomats and leaders. Today, they had gathered to celebrate what they called progress. Ambassador Kim Ji-woo stood alone at the center of the chamber floor. She was a small woman by human standards, barely reaching 5.5 feet tall. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore the plain gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Around her, the raised seats of the council members formed a circle, making her feel like an insect under observation. Chancellor Vexnar spoke first. He was a Zentaran, tall and covered in blue scales that caught the light. His species had founded the council 3,000 years ago, and he never let anyone forget it. Ambassador Kim, we have asked you here as a courtesy. The council has voted, and the decision is final. Our expedition fleet will enter Sector 7 Null in 3 days. Kim looked up at him without expression. Chancellor, I must ask the council to reconsider. That sector is forbidden for good reason. Laughter echoed through the chamber. It came from at least a dozen different species, each with their own way of showing amusement. The sound mixed together into something that made Kim's jaw tighten. Science Director Kalmeans leaned forward in his seat. He was a Keltorian with 4 arms and skin that changed colors with his emotions. Right now, it showed bright yellow, the color of excitement. Ambassador, your species claimed that sector 300 years ago. You have no colonies there, no mining operations, no stations. You simply declared it forbidden and expected us all to obey. He spread all 4 arms wide. The council has been patient, but patience has limits. Space belongs to all of us. We declared it forbidden to protect you, Kim said quietly. Her voice was soft, but it carried clearly in the chamber's perfect acoustics. To protect everyone. More laughter. Chancellor Vexanar's scales rippled with what his species showed as contempt. Protect us? From what? We have scanned that sector for decades. It is empty. No life signs. No energy readings. Nothing but old rocks and dead space. He pointed one clawed finger at Kim. Your species tries to hoard resources and uses fear to justify it. This is exactly why humanity should never have been given a council seat. Kim closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, something had changed in her face. The diplomats closest to the floor would later say her expression reminded them of someone attending a funeral. Chancellor, I am formally requesting that you delay the expedition by 1 month. Give me time to show you why that sector must remain closed. Request denied, Vexnar said immediately. This discussion is over. Then I am formally warning you, Kim said, her voice still quiet but now carrying an edge like cold steel. You stepped where you shouldn't have. The chamber fell silent. It was rare for anyone to challenge the Chancellor so directly. Even the translation devices seemed to pause, making sure they had rendered her words correctly in all 47 languages. Counselor Merhana, an elderly female from the peaceful Delphian species, leaned forward. Her kind were known for their wisdom and careful thought. Ambassador Kim, your tone concerns me. Is this a threat? No, Counselor, Kim replied, turning to face the Delphian. It is a statement of fact. Your expedition will enter Sector 7 Null. You will make discoveries there, and those discoveries will have consequences. She paused. We have tried for 3 centuries to spare you from those consequences. We built our defense perimeter. We maintained the watch. We kept the boundaries secure. All we asked in return was that you respect the barriers we set. Defense perimeter? Kalmean's skin shifted to orange, showing confusion. What defense perimeter? There are no human military vessels in that region. Kim's lips pressed into a thin line. Director, there are 47 human vessels in that region. They are always there. They have been there for 300 years, rotating crews every 6 months. We maintain stations you have never detected. We fight battles you have never seen. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. We have protected you in silence because we hoped you would never need to know what we were protecting you from. Lies! Vexnar slammed his hand against his console. If there were human ships in that sector, we would know. Our sensors would detect them. Your sensors detect what they are designed to find, Kim said. They look for energy signatures, heat, radiation, communications. Our Guardian fleet runs on minimal power. They maintain communication silence. They drift in the dark and wait. She turned back to the Chancellor. They wait for exactly what your expedition is about to wake up. The chamber erupted in voices. Some laughed harder than before. Others looked uncertain. A few of the older species representatives, those whose civilizations had survived for thousands of years, watched Kim with careful attention. Ambassador Thel Ross of the Corvan Empire stood. His people were warriors, proud and strong. If what you say is true, show us proof. Transmit coordinates of these ghost ships. Let us see this threat you claim to fight. Kim shook her head. If I did that, Captain Thel Ross, you would send ships to investigate. More people would enter the sector. More people would be at risk. She looked up at him. The answer is no. Then this hearing is pointless, Vexnar declared. He stood, his full height making him tower over his console. The expedition launches in 3 days. Ambassador Kim, humanity's objections are noted and rejected. You may return to Earth and inform your government that the age of human secrets is over. Kim stood in silence for a long moment. Then she reached into her uniform pocket and pulled out a small data chip. She held it up for everyone to see. This chip contains 300 years of records, battle logs, casualty reports, tactical analyses, coordinates of graves. Her hand closed around it. I was ordered not to share it unless absolutely necessary. I believe we have reached that point. She walked to the chamber's central podium and inserted the chip. Holographic displays filled the air above her head. They showed sensor logs, video footage from ships, and lists of names. So many names. Every display was marked with a red border, the universal symbol for classified military data. The chamber went quiet as representatives began to read. Kim watched their faces change as they processed what they were seeing. Confusion, disbelief, and slowly, for some, the first hints of fear. These records are 300 years old, Kim said. They document our first encounter with what waits in Sector 7 Null. We lost 4 colony ships, 73,000 people. We barely escaped with the knowledge of what we had found. She looked around the chamber. We have spent every day since then making sure no one else has to face what we faced. We built the barriers. We stood the watch. We died in silence. Chancellor Vexnar's scales had paled to a light blue. This could be fabricated. It could be, Kim agreed. You will discover the truth in 3 days. She removed the data chip and held it in her palm. When you do, when your expedition finds what sleeps in that sector, remember this moment. Remember that humanity tried to warn you, tried to protect you. She placed the chip back in her pocket. We will do everything we can to save your people. But Chancellor, Science Director, honored council members, please understand this truth. You stepped where you shouldn't have. She turned and walked toward the chamber exit. Behind her, voices rose in argument. Some called her back, others dismissed her words. But Kim Ji-woo did not stop. She had delivered her warning. Now all she could do was prepare for what came next. As the chamber doors closed behind her, she touched the communication device in her ear. This is Ambassador Kim. Alert the Guardian fleet. Tell them to go to high alert status. The Council expedition launches in 3 days. A voice crackled in her ear. Understood, Ambassador. Should we begin evacuation protocols? Kim closed her eyes. Not yet, but have the ships ready. When the call comes, it will come fast. She paused. And contact Earth Command. Tell them I may have failed. She walked down the empty corridor, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Somewhere far away, in a sector of space the galaxy had forgotten, ancient machines were waiting. In 3 days, they would wake up. And then the galaxy would understand why humanity had nightmares about the dark. Captain Thelros stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Bright Discovery and felt proud. His ship was the largest in the expedition fleet, carrying the most advanced sensors and the finest crew the Council could provide. Behind him, 17 other ships maintained perfect formation as they approached the boundary of Sector 7 Null. We are crossing the human boundary line now, Captain, his navigator reported. The navigator was a young Zentaran female, her scales showing the green color of excitement mixed with nervousness. Thelros nodded. He was Corvin, a species that had earned its reputation through courage and strength. His people did not believe in fear of empty space. Maintain course. All ships begin deep sensor sweeps. Let us see what the humans were so afraid of. Science Director Kallman stood at the sensor station, his forearms moving across multiple displays at once. His skin rippled through several colors as data poured in. Captain, initial readings show nothing unusual. Background radiation is normal. No energy signatures detected. No artificial structures. He looked up, his skin settling into a satisfied orange. Just as we predicted. The sector is empty. Continue deeper, Thelros ordered. We will prove there is nothing here to fear. The fleet moved forward into the sector. Around them, space looked like any other region of the galaxy. Stars shone in the distance. Asteroids drifted in their ancient patterns. Nothing seemed wrong. Nothing seemed dangerous. For 3 days they searched. The ships moved in careful patterns, their sensors reaching out in all directions. They found old asteroids. They found dust clouds. They found the usual debris that filled any sector of space. But they found nothing that explained why humanity had declared this region forbidden. This is a waste of time, Kallman said on the 3rd day. His skin showed purple, the color of frustration. There is nothing here. The humans have been guarding empty space for 3 centuries. But Thelros had begun to feel uncomfortable. He could not explain why. He was a warrior, trained to trust his instincts, and something felt wrong. The sector was too empty, too clean. Space was never this empty. There should be more debris, more asteroids, more of the normal chaos that filled the universe. Director, he said slowly, does the emptiness not strike you as odd? Kallman waved one hand dismissively. Space is vast, Captain. Empty regions are common. Not like this. Thelros pulled up a star chart. Look at the surrounding sectors. They all have normal density of matter, asteroids, comets, dust. But here, he highlighted Sector 7 Null. Here it is all pushed to the edges. The center is almost completely clear. The science director moved closer to examine the data. His skin slowly shifted to yellow, then orange, then to a color Thelros had never seen before. A pale, sickly blue. Captain, Kallman said quietly, something cleared this sector. Something pushed all the matter to the edges. What could do that? I do not know, but Captain, I recommend we... The alarm cut him off. Every screen on the bridge flashed red. The sensor operator, a 3-eyed Belkarian, shouted in panic. Contact! Multiple contacts! They are coming from beneath us! Beneath us? Thelros looked at the display. Space had no up or down, no beneath or above, but he understood what the operator meant. From the direction of the galactic plane's lower edge, something was rising toward them. Many somethings. What are they? He demanded. Scanning now. Kalmins's skin had turned completely white, all color drained away. "Captain, I am reading massive energy signatures. They are artificial, designed, and they are old. Very, very old." The main screen showed what their sensors had found. Thelros felt his blood turn cold. Rising from below the galactic plane were structures, massive structures. Each one was the size of a small moon, made of black metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They were perfect spheres, completely smooth, except for patterns carved into their surfaces. Patterns that looked like mathematical formulas, like instructions. "How many?" Thelros whispered. "Counting now. 12, 15, 20. The sensor operator's voice shook. "Captain, they keep coming. I count 47 now. No, 50. They are rising from some kind of dormant position." Kalman stared at his readings. "Captain, these structures have been here the entire time. They were powered down, completely dark. Our scans passed right over them because they were emitting nothing, no heat, no energy. They were dead. And now? Now they are waking up." The structures began to change. Sections of their surfaces split open, revealing interiors that glowed with a sick green light. From inside each structure, smaller objects began to emerge. They were the size of ships, but they moved wrong. Too fast, too precise, like they knew exactly where to go and what to do. "Are they ships?" Thelros asked. "I do not think so." Kalmins worked his controls frantically. "They read as drones, automated units. Captain, I am detecting weapon systems, very powerful weapon systems, and they are targeting us." "Shields up, battle stations, all ships, prepare for evasive." The first structure fired before he could finish the order. A beam of green energy lanced across space and struck the science vessel Explorer's Dream. The beam did not explode the ship. It did something worse. The ship simply stopped. Every light went dark. Every engine went silent. And then the ship began to dissolve. Its hull broke apart into individual molecules that drifted away like dust. "What was that?" someone screamed. "Molecular disintegration," Kalmin said. His voice had gone flat, emotionless. It was the sound of someone who had stopped feeling fear because the fear was too great. "That weapon broke down the atomic bonds holding the ship together." More beams fired. The heavy cruiser Valiant's Pride tried to dodge. The beam followed it with perfect accuracy. Another ship gone, turned to dust in seconds. "Return fire," Thelros ordered. "All ships, return fire." The fleet's weapons opened up. Missiles streaked across space. Energy weapons blazed. Kinetic rounds flew at tremendous speeds. Every weapon struck the black structure's dead center. The explosions were massive, bright enough to hurt the eyes. When the light faded, the structures were unchanged. Not a single mark showed on their surfaces. "Impossible," Kalmins breathed. The drones were among them now. They moved through the fleet like predators through prey. One drone attached itself to the side of a destroyer. Metal tentacles emerged from its body and began cutting into the ship's hull. Crew members' screams came over the communication channels as the atmosphere vented into space. "All ships, retreat!" Thelros shouted. "Fall back to the boundary! Get out of this sector!" But the drones were faster. They cut off escape routes. They herded the ships like animals. More green beams fired. More ships dissolved into nothing. In less than 10 minutes, the expedition had lost 7 vessels. 7 ships and all their crew erased from existence. Thelros watched his tactical display as ships blinked out one by one. His hands gripped the arms of his command chair so hard his claws cut into the metal. He had led these people here. He had dismissed the human warnings. He had been so sure of himself, so certain that humanity was simply being territorial. "Send a distress call," he said quietly. "Maximum power, all frequencies. Tell them we found something. Tell them the humans were right." The communication officer worked her controls with shaking hands. "Message sent, Captain. Broadcasting continuously." "Good." Thelross looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. They trusted him. They believed he could save them. He had to try. "All power to engines and shields. We run for the boundary. Stay together. Protect each other. We will get out of this." But even as he said it, he knew it was probably a lie. The structures were fully active now. The drones filled the space around them like a swarm of insects. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Thelross understood a terrible truth. These things had been sleeping here for who knew how long. The human scans must have detected them somehow. Humanity had found them and learned what they were. And then humanity had spent 300 years making sure no one woke them up. Until now. Until the Council, in its arrogance, had come looking for what they thought was treasure or resources, and instead, they had rung the dinner bell for something that should have stayed asleep forever. A new message appeared on his screen. It was coded with human diplomatic encryption. Thelross opened it with trembling hands. The message was from Ambassador Kim Ji-woo. It contained only 7 words. "Stay alive. We're coming. Hold on." Thelross looked at those words for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. "You heard the ambassador. We hold on. We survive. The humans are coming." "Can they help us?" his navigator asked. Her scales had gone pale white with fear. Thelross looked at the structures on his screen, at the drones that hunted his ships, at the green beams that erased matter itself. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but right now, they are our only hope." Another ship died, and another. The expedition fleet was being torn apart. All around them, in the darkness of Sector 7 Null, ancient machines continued to wake up, and they were hungry. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other across the chamber. Displays showed the desperate transmissions from Sector 7 Null, each one more frightening than the last. Ships destroyed, crew members killed, and something ancient awakening in the dark. Chancellor Vexnar stood at his position, his scales showing colors that shifted between anger and fear. "How many ships have we lost?" 7 confirmed destroyed, a military advisor reported. 3 more heavily damaged. The expedition is trying to retreat, but these machines are preventing escape. "What are they?" Counselor Merhana asked. The elderly Delphian's voice shook. "What did we wake up?" No one had an answer. The screens showed images captured by the expedition's sensors. The massive black spheres, the drones that moved too fast, the weapons that turned solid matter into dust. Every representative in the chamber stared at these images and felt the same cold fear. "Where is Ambassador Kim?" someone called out. "She left for Earth 3 days ago," Vexnar said, "immediately after our last session." "Contact her. Contact Earth. We need to know what they know about these things." A communication officer spoke from his station near the chamber wall. "Chancellor, we are receiving a transmission. It is on all human diplomatic frequencies, and military frequencies, and emergency frequencies. The humans are broadcasting to everyone." "Play it," Vexnar ordered. The chamber's speakers crackled to life. Ambassador Kim's voice filled the space. She sounded tired, but calm. "To all Galactic Council members and citizens, this is Ambassador Kim Ji-woo of Earth. By now you have received distress calls from Sector 7 Null. You know that the expedition has encountered hostile forces. What you do not know is what those forces are, or why humanity has guarded that sector for 3 centuries. Images began appearing on the chamber's displays. They showed human ships, dozens of them. But these were not the civilian vessels or light patrol craft the Council was familiar with. These were warships, heavy warships. Their hulls were covered in armor plating. Their sides bristled with weapons. They were painted in dark colors, designed to hide in the black of space. 300 years ago, Kim continued, humanity made first contact with what we call the Harvesters. We lost 4 colony ships in that first encounter. 73,000 people died learning what these machines do. They harvest. They consume. They break down any biological matter and any civilization into base components. More images appeared. These showed the black spheres from different angles, close-up views of the drones, diagrams showing how their weapons worked, and lists, long lists of dates and locations. Each entry showed a human ship and a battle. Some battles were won, many were lost. The dates started 300 years ago and continued right up to the present day. We learned that the harvesters were not natural, Kim said. Someone built them. Some civilization created these machines and then either lost control of them or was destroyed by them. We do not know which. What we do know is that they are programmed to destroy any spacefaring civilization they detect. They sleep until they sense ships entering their territory. Then they wake up. And they harvest. Silence filled the council chamber. Representatives stared at the screens, reading the battle reports, the casualty numbers, seeing the terrible arithmetic of 300 years of warfare. Humanity discovered 17 sectors containing harvester spheres, Kim continued. We have maintained guard over all 17 sectors. We have fought 347 separate engagements with harvester forces. We have lost 62 ships. 40,000 soldiers and crew members have died protecting the galaxy from a threat you never knew existed. Chancellor Vexnar felt something inside him break. He had called humanity territorial. He had accused them of hoarding resources. He had laughed at their warnings, and all the while they had been fighting and dying to protect everyone, including him. "Why didn't you tell us?" he whispered. As if hearing his question, Kim's message continued. "We did not reveal the harvesters for several reasons. First, if we told you about them, you would want to study them, to understand them, and that would bring more ships to the sectors, risking more awakening events. Second, we learned that harvester drones can be collected. Their technology could be reverse-engineered. We feared that some species might try to claim this technology, might even try to control the harvesters. We could not allow that risk." New images appeared. These showed human vessels that looked different from the warships. They were older designs, ancient by galactic standards. Their hulls showed damage from countless battles, scorch marks, repaired sections. These were not ceremonial ships kept for parades. These were working vessels, used hard and maintained lovingly. "The human defense fleet has maintained continuous operations in all 17 sectors for 3 centuries, Kim said. "We call them the Guardian Fleet. They operate on communication silence. They run on minimal power to avoid detection. Every 6 months we rotate crews. Every 5 years we rotate ships. Thousands of humans have served in the Guardian Fleet. Most of them never told their families what they did or where they served. It is classified at the highest level." On the displays, images showed young human faces. Crew photos from Guardian Fleet vessels. Thousands of faces. Tens of thousands. All of them young. All of them serious. These were people who had volunteered to fight in secret, to die without glory, to protect a galaxy that did not know they existed. "Our Guardian Fleet detected your expedition the moment it entered Sector 7 Null," Kim said. "We immediately went to high alert. When the harvesters woke up, we were already moving." Her voice hardened slightly. "Our ships will arrive in approximately 6 hours. Captain Thelros, if you are receiving this, hold on. Do whatever you must to survive. We are coming." The message ended. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then everyone started talking at once. "6 hours?" someone shouted. "Earth is weeks away from Sector 7 Null." "Those ships," another representative said, pointing at the displays. "Look at their positions. They're not coming from Earth. They're already out there, stationed around the sector." Councillor Merhana stood slowly. Her old body shook, but her voice was steady. "Chancellor Vexnar, we must send our own fleet to assist." Our ships are not designed to fight these machines, Vexnar said. His scales had gone pale. You saw what their weapons do. We cannot help. Then we witness, Merhana said firmly. We witness what humanity has done in our name. We bear witness to their sacrifice. More voices joined hers. Representatives from a dozen species all demanding the same thing. Send ships, send support, do something. Vexnar looked at them all. He thought about how he had treated Ambassador Kim, how he had dismissed her warnings, how he had laughed at humanity's concerns. Shame burned through him hotter than any anger. Send the fleet, he ordered. Everything we have. If we cannot fight, we can at least evacuate the wounded. We can at least see what the humans have been protecting us from. Chancellor, his military advisor said carefully, if we send our fleet into that sector and more harvesters wake up, then humanity will protect us again, Vexnar said quietly. As they have always done, without asking for thanks, without seeking glory, they have earned the right to lead us in this. We will follow. The orders went out. The Council fleet began to mobilize, medical ships, rescue vessels, even a few warships, though no one believed they would be useful against the harvesters. In the center of the chamber, a holographic timer appeared. It showed the estimated time until the Guardian fleet arrived at Sector 7 Null. 6 hours, 360 minutes. Every representative watched those numbers count down. Somewhere in the dark between stars, human ships raced toward a battle they had prepared for all their lives, ships with names like Eternal Vigil and Guardian's Promise, ships crewed by men and women who had volunteered to stand between civilization and the things that waited in the dark. And at the center of that fleet, aboard the command ship, Ambassador Kim Ji-woo sat in her small cabin. She had changed from her diplomatic uniform into the simple gray jumpsuit of a Guardian fleet observer. On her desk sat a datapad showing faces, the faces of every human who had died fighting harvesters over the past 300 years. She touched the screen gently, her finger tracing over the images. "We're coming," she whispered to them, to the dead who had held the line before her. "We won't let their sacrifice be in vain. We'll bring them home." Outside her window, the stars streaked past as the ship traveled at maximum speed. In 6 hours, they would reach Sector 7 Null. In 6 hours, the galaxy would finally see what humanity had been fighting for 3 centuries. In 6 hours, everything would change. Captain Thel Ross watched another ship die. The Council vessel Merchant's Hope simply stopped existing as a green beam cut through its center. He did not even know how many ships they had lost now. More than half the expedition. Maybe more than that. His tactical display was full of red markers showing destroyed vessels and debris fields. "Captain, we cannot hold this position much longer," his tactical officer reported. The young officer's voice shook with exhaustion. They had been fighting for 6 hours with no rest, no relief. Just endless combat against machines that never tired and never stopped. "We hold until the humans arrive," Thelross said. He gripped his command chair and watched the drones swarm around his ship. The Bright Discovery's shields were down to 30%. Life support was running on backup power. They had maybe an hour left before the ship was completely dead. "Contact!" the sensor operator shouted. "New signatures! Multiple ships entering the sector!" Thelross's heart jumped, but he forced himself to stay calm. It could be more harvesters, more of the ancient machines awakening. "Identify them!" "Scanning! Captain, they're human! It's the Guardian fleet!" The main screen changed to show the new arrivals. Thelross had seen many human ships before. Diplomatic vessels, trading ships, research craft. These ships were nothing like those. These were predators, sleek and dark, covered in armor that made them almost invisible against the black of space. They moved in perfect formation, their spacing precise down to the meter. And there were so many of them. Thelross counted 30 heavy cruisers, 50 destroyers, hundreds of smaller craft. The humans had brought an entire fleet, a hidden fleet that had been waiting out in the dark all this time. "All council vessels, this is Admiral Park Min-ho of the Guardian Fleet," a voice came over the emergency channel. The Admiral's voice was calm, almost gentle. "We are taking command of this engagement. Follow our instructions exactly and we will get you out of here." "Admiral, thank you," Thelros said. His voice broke slightly. He had not realized until that moment how close to breaking he had been. "We are ready to follow your orders." "Good. Captain Thelros, pull your ship back to coordinates I am transmitting now. Medical frigates will meet you there to evacuate your wounded. All other council ships retreat to the same position. Form a defensive sphere. Do not engage the harvesters. Let us handle them." Thelros followed the orders. His ship turned and began moving toward the coordinates. Around him, the remaining council vessels did the same. As they pulled back, the Guardian fleet moved forward. The harvesters focused on the new arrivals immediately. Dozens of drones swarmed toward the human ships. The massive spheres began charging their weapons, green light building in their depths. "Here they come," someone whispered on the bridge. The harvesters fired. Beams of green energy lanced across space toward the human fleet. But the human ships were already moving. They scattered in perfectly coordinated patterns, each ship knowing exactly where every other ship would be. The beams passed through empty space where ships had been moments before. "How did they do that?" Science Director Kalmins breathed. He had been silent for hours, staring at his readings in shock. Now his skin flickered between colors too fast to identify. "They moved before the harvesters fired, as if they knew what was coming." "They did know," Thelros said slowly, understanding dawning on him. "They have fought these machines for 300 years. They know how harvesters target, how they think. The humans have studied every aspect of their enemy." The Guardian fleet returned fire. But they did not use energy weapons or missiles like the Council ships had. Instead, they fired solid projectiles, massive rounds of metal moving at incredible speeds. The rounds were not explosive. They were just metal. Simple, heavy metal. The projectiles struck the harvester spheres with tremendous force, and to Thelros's amazement, they worked. The spheres rocked from the impacts. Pieces of their black armor cracked and broke away. The humans had found the one weakness the harvesters had. Their weapons could destroy almost anything, but their armor was just armor. Kinetic force could break it. "Target the drones," Admiral Park's voice came over the command channel. "Pattern Delta 7, fire on my mark." The human fleet shifted formation. Suddenly, instead of fighting as individual ships, they moved as one organism. Destroyers created a wall of weapons fire. Cruisers positioned themselves as anchors. Smaller craft darted between the larger ships, drawing drone attacks and leading the drones into kill zones. It was beautiful, terrifying and beautiful at the same time. This was not how the Council fought battles. Council fleets were made of individual ships, each captain making their own decisions. But the Guardian fleet fought as a single unit with a single mind. Every ship trusted every other ship completely. "Mark," Admiral Park said calmly. Every human ship fired at once. The concentrated fire caught 3 drones and tore them apart. Metal and circuitry scattered across space. The remaining drones immediately changed tactics, trying to adapt to the new threat. But the humans adapted faster. They shifted to a new formation, changed their fire patterns, moved in ways that made the drones' calculations fail. This was what 300 years of experience looked like. This was what happened when a species prepared for one specific enemy and learned every possible way to fight them. "Captain Thelros," a new voice spoke on a private channel. It was Ambassador Kim. "I am aboard the command ship. Are you injured?" "I am fine, Ambassador," Thelros said. He felt tears building in his eyes, tears of relief, tears of shame. I am sorry. You tried to warn us. I did not listen. We will discuss that later, Kim said gently. Right now, I need you to help coordinate the evacuation of your people. Can you do that? Yes, I can do that. Good. Medical ships are approaching your position now. Transfer your wounded first. Then we will get everyone else to safety. Thelros watched as human medical frigates approached. They were painted white with red crosses, the ancient human symbol for medical care. The frigates formed a protective ring around the council ships. Human fighter craft circled them like guardian angels. We are here now, Kim said softly. You are safe. On the main screen, the battle continued. More harvester spheres were awakening. The humans had destroyed 5 of them, but 10 more rose from the depths. 50 drones had been destroyed, but 100 more emerged to replace them. Ambassador, Thelros said quietly, can you win this battle? There was a long pause. When Kim spoke again, her voice carried an emotion Thelros could not identify. Sadness, perhaps, or resignation. Captain, we are not trying to win. We are trying to contain. The harvesters cannot be defeated. They can only be put back to sleep. And that requires... She trailed off. Requires what? Sacrifices. On the tactical display, Thelros saw human ships moving into position around the harvester spheres. They were forming a cage, a massive sphere of ships surrounding the enemy, and at the center of the human formation, one ship stood out. It was the largest vessel in the fleet, a dreadnought. Its hull was ancient, scarred from countless battles. Its name was written in large letters, Prometheus. All ships, this is Admiral Park, the command channel crackled. We are implementing Containment Protocol Alpha 7. The Prometheus will be our anchor. All other vessels, maintain your positions. Do not break formation no matter what happens. Thelros felt cold fear wash over him. What is Protocol Alpha 7? Kim's voice answered him, but she was not speaking to him. She was speaking to her own people, to the humans who had spent their lives preparing for this moment. Protocol Alpha 7 is our final option. The Prometheus will overload its reactor at the center of the harvester formation. The explosion will create a temporary collapse in the hyperspace lanes. It will trap the harvesters in normal space, unable to follow ships that jump away. They will be contained until they go dormant again. A temporary collapse? Coleman's turned to stare at Thelros. That means anyone inside the collapse will be trapped. They will not be able to jump to hyperspace either. Yes, Kim said simply. The Prometheus crew volunteered for this mission. They understand what it means. They will die, Thelros said. All of them. Yes. The simple truth of it hit Thelros like a physical blow. The humans were going to sacrifice an entire ship, hundreds of crew members, all to contain the harvesters, all to protect the rest of the galaxy. There must be another way, he said desperately. There is not, Kim replied. We have run this simulation 10,000 times over the past 3 centuries. This is the only way to guarantee containment when this many spheres wake up. She paused. Captain, every person aboard the Prometheus knew this might happen. They accepted it. This is what it means to be Guardian Fleet. We stand between the galaxy and the dark, whatever the cost. On the screen, the Prometheus moved toward the center of the battle. Drones swarmed toward it. The massive ship's weapons fired continuously, clearing a path. Other Guardian Fleet ships moved to support it, sacrificing themselves to ensure the Prometheus reached its position. Thelros watched men and women die, watched ships explode, watched the humans fight with a determination and skill that came from 300 years of preparation. And he understood, finally, what humanity had been doing in the dark, what they had sacrificed, what they had become. Ambassador Kim, he said softly, when this is over, The Council will know. Everyone will know what you did, what humanity has done. I hope so, Kim said. Because, Captain, there are 16 other sectors we still guard, and we cannot do it alone anymore. Not after this. We need help. We need the galaxy to stand with us. They will, Thelros promised. I will make them understand. I will make them see. Thank you. The Prometheus reached its position. All around it, harvester spheres closed in. The ancient machines sensed that something was wrong. They concentrated their fire on the dreadnought. The ship's shields flared and died. Armor plating melted under the assault, but the Prometheus held. And deep in its reactor core, something began to build. A light that grew brighter and brighter until it hurt to look at. The light from the Prometheus grew brighter. On the bridge of the bright discovery, Captain Thelros had to shield his eyes from the glare on the main screen. All around the massive dreadnought, space itself seemed to twist and bend. The harvester spheres sensed the danger now. They tried to pull back, but the Guardian fleet held them in place with coordinated fire and positioning. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. Admiral Park's voice remained steady even now. Council vessels, you will jump first. Guardian fleet will jump in sequence. We will leave no one behind. Thelros felt his hands shake. He was about to run, to escape, while hundreds of humans aboard the Prometheus stayed behind to die. It felt wrong, cowardly, but he understood that his survival was part of their sacrifice. They needed witnesses. They needed someone to tell the galaxy what had happened here. Captain, his navigator said softly. Her scales had turned a pale gray, the color of morning. Jump coordinates are locked in. Stand by, Thelros ordered. He could not look away from the Prometheus. That ship and its crew deserved to be seen, to be remembered. On the command channel, a new voice spoke. It was young and female, carrying a slight tremor. This is Captain Lee Soyon of the Prometheus. To all council ships, thank you for bearing witness. Tell them we stood here. Tell them we held the line. We will, Thelros said, his voice breaking. I swear it. Everyone will know. Good. Captain Lee paused. It has been an honor serving with the Guardian fleet. To all my crew, you are the bravest people I have ever known. We do this so others can live. We do this because someone must. And we do this without regret. The Prometheus crew responded over the channel, hundreds of voices speaking as one. We stand guard. Thelros felt tears streaming down his face. In Corvan culture, tears were a sign of deepest respect. A warrior's tribute to other warriors. He was not ashamed of them. Council vessels, Admiral Park said. Jump now. The council ships engaged their hyperspace drives and vanished. One by one, they escaped the sector. Thelros watched his screen as the bright discovery entered hyperspace. The last thing he saw was the Prometheus, surrounded by enemies, shining like a small sun. Then the jump took hold, and space twisted around them. For a moment, Thelros existed in that strange space between places. When his ship emerged back into normal space, they were far from Sector 7 null. Safe. Alive. Navigator, can we see the sector from here? He asked. No, Captain. We are too far away. But our long-range sensors are receiving data from Guardian Fleet relay stations. She worked her controls. Putting it on screen now. The image was grainy and distorted, but clear enough. Thelros saw the Prometheus at the center of a sphere of harvester machines. The light from its reactor had become blinding. Space around the ship bent and twisted like water going down a drain. And then the ship exploded. But it was not a normal explosion. Instead of fire and debris, there was pure white light. The light expanded in a perfect sphere, consuming everything it touched. Harvesters, drones, the ancient spheres that had slept for millennia. All of it disappeared into the light. The light faded. Where it had been, space looked wrong. twisted, damaged. The sensor readings showed what Kim had described. The hyperspace lanes in that region had collapsed. Nothing could enter or leave using faster-than-light travel. The harvesters were trapped. And so were the remaining Guardian Fleet ships. "The Guardian Fleet," Thelros said urgently. "Did they escape?" "Checking now, Captain." The sensor operator worked frantically. "I am reading. Yes. Hyperspace signatures detected outside the collapse zone. Most of the Guardian Fleet jumped clear before the Prometheus detonated." "Most?" 40 ships remained behind. They are inside the collapse zone with the harvesters." 40 ships. That meant hundreds more crew members trapped. But at least most of the fleet had survived. Small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. "Captain," his communication officer said, "we are receiving a transmission. It is Ambassador Kim." "Put her through." Kim's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying, but her voice was calm. "Captain Thelros, are you and your crew safe?" "We are, Ambassador, thanks to your people." He paused. "I am sorry, so very sorry. We caused this." "You did not know," Kim said gently, "and now you do. That is what matters." She looked off-screen for a moment, then back at him. "Captain, in approximately 2 hours, the entire Galactic Council will convene for an emergency session. You need to be there. You need to tell them everything you saw." "I will." "Good. Because this cannot happen again. There are 16 other sectors under Guardian Fleet protection. We have kept them secret for 300 years. But after today, we cannot maintain that secret. The galaxy needs to know what is out there. And the galaxy needs to help us guard against it." Thelros nodded. "What will happen to the ships trapped inside the collapse?" Kim's expression hardened. "The collapse will last approximately 6 months. During that time, the ships inside will continue fighting the harvesters. They will prevent them from reaching the edge of the zone. When the collapse ends, the harvesters will be dormant again. We hope. If they are not..." She did not finish the sentence. "I understand." The communication ended. Thelros sat in his command chair and looked at his crew. They all looked as exhausted and shaken as he felt. They had survived something that would give them nightmares for the rest of their lives. But they had also witnessed something extraordinary. They had seen what it meant to be human, to sacrifice everything for others without hesitation. 2 hours later, Thelros stood in the Galactic Council chamber. Every seat was filled. Every species was represented. The chamber was completely silent as Captain Lee Soyon's final words played over the speakers. When they ended, the silence continued. Chancellor Vexnar stood slowly. His scales were gray with shame. "Ambassador Kim Ji-woo, please come forward." Kim walked to the center of the chamber floor. She wore her diplomatic uniform again, though Thelros could see scorch marks on one sleeve. She had been on a ship during the battle. She had been in the danger with everyone else. "Ambassador," Vexnar said, and his voice shook. "The Galactic Council has failed. We have failed in wisdom, failed in judgment, failed in gratitude." He looked around the chamber. "For 300 years, humanity fought and died to protect us. They asked nothing in return except that we respect the boundaries they set, and we could not even give them that." Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber. Representatives from every species nodded. Some looked angry, most looked ashamed. "Today, the Council witnessed what humanity has done in the dark," Vexnar continued. "We saw your Guardian Fleet. We saw your ships. We saw your people sacrifice themselves for strangers who had mocked you and dismissed you." He slowly descended from his raised seat and walked down to the chamber floor. When he reached Kim, he did something no council chancellor had done in 1,000 years. He knelt. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I ask for humanity's forgiveness, and I ask for your help, because we cannot face what you have faced. We need you." Kim looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached down and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Stand up, Chancellor. There is no need to kneel." When he stood, she continued, "Humanity does not want your guilt. We want your partnership. We want your help, because you are right. We cannot do this alone anymore." She turned to face the chamber. "Today, I am authorized to reveal the full extent of what humanity has been protecting you from. There are 16 other sectors like Sector 7 Null, 16 other places where harvesters sleep. We guard them all. We have lost 40,000 soldiers doing so. We have spent resources that could have built cities. We have sacrificed lives that could have lived in peace." Images appeared on the chamber displays. Star charts showing all 17 sectors. Lists of every battle fought. Names of every human who had died. "We did this because it was necessary," Kim said, "because someone had to stand between the galaxy and the dark. But now the secret is revealed. Now you know. So I ask you, Galactic Council, will you stand with us? Will you help guard these sectors? Will you join the Watch?" The chamber erupted in voices. Every representative stood. Every species spoke at once. But they were all saying the same thing. "Yes. Yes, we will help. Yes, we will stand with you." Councillor Merhana's voice cut through the noise. "I propose the formation of the Jiwoo Accords, named in honor of Ambassador Kim Jiwoo, who tried to warn us. These accords will establish a joint defense force. Every species contributes ships and personnel. We will share the burden of guarding the sectors. We will share the sacrifice." The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed. Every representative committed their people to the defense of the galaxy. For the first time in Council history, the galaxy stood united in a single purpose. 3 months later, Ambassador Kim Jiwoo stood in a different place, not in a grand chamber or on a ship. She stood on a planet at the edge of Sector 7 Null. Around her, construction crews from a dozen species worked to build a memorial, a massive wall that would hold the names of every Guardian fleet member who had died in 300 years of service. Captain Thelross stood beside her. He wore the uniform of the new Joint Defense Force. Behind them, human instructors trained Council soldiers in anti-harvester tactics. The galaxy was learning to fight, learning to guard. "Will it be enough?" Thelross asked quietly. "I don't know," Kim admitted. "But it is more than we had before, and it is what those who died would have wanted. They did not die for glory. They died so others could be safe. Now others will stand with us. That is a good thing." "You should be proud," Thelross said. "Your people did something extraordinary." Kim smiled sadly. "My people did what was necessary. Nothing more. But I am proud of what came after. I am proud that you stood before the Council and told them the truth. I am proud that the galaxy chose to help rather than hide. That is extraordinary." A young human officer approached and saluted. "Ambassador, we just received word from the other sectors. The first Joint Defense Force ships are arriving on station. The galaxy is taking the watch." "Thank you, Lieutenant," Kim said. She turned back to the memorial wall. Workers were just beginning to carve the names. It would take years to finish. There were so many names. So many lives given in silence, but they would not be forgotten now. The galaxy would remember, the galaxy would honor them, and the galaxy would continue their work. Far above, in the darkness of space, human ships and alien ships flew together. They patrolled the boundaries of forbidden sectors. They stood guard over the things that slept in the dark. They held the line. And on Earth, in the halls of military command, Admiral Park Minho stood before a map showing all 17 sectors. Each one now had ships from multiple species orbiting it. The burden was shared. The watch was kept. He thought of the Prometheus, of Captain Lee Soyon and her crew, of all those who had stood guard over the centuries. And he made a promise to their memory. "We will hold the line," he whispered. "We will stand guard, and we will never let the galaxy forget what you gave." In the darkness between the stars, ancient machines slept. They dreamed their mechanical dreams and waited for the day they would wake again. But when that day came, they would not face humanity alone. They would face a galaxy united, a galaxy that had learned the price of safety, a galaxy that had chosen to stand together. The harvesters would wake again. That was certain. But when they did, they would find something they had never encountered before. Not just humans, not just one species standing defiant, but 47 species standing together. 47 species who had learned from humanity that some things were worth dying to protect. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough.
The starship moved through the darkness like a ghost. Its hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it, making the vessel nearly invisible against the black canvas of space. Inside the ship, Velcross stood on the command platform, his three eyes gleaming with satisfaction. After 3 months of careful travel, they had finally reached human territory. The Kael'thir were masters of stealth. For over 10,000 years, their civilization had perfected the art of watching without being seen. Their bodies could blend into any background, a gift from their ancestors who had hunted in the dense forests of their homeworld. When they reached for the stars, they brought this talent with them, building ships that could hide from any sensor, any eye, any detection system known to the galaxy. Velcross touched the smooth control panel in front of him. The ship's name, Whisper of Silence, was fitting. It made no sound, left no trail, and existed in a state between reality and shadow. The Dominion had sent him here with a clear mission: learn everything about the humans. These strange creatures had appeared in the galaxy only 300 years ago, spreading from their small blue world like insects from a disturbed nest. The ruling caste wanted to know if they posed a threat. "Status report," Velcross commanded, his voice a soft hiss. Captain Thelraz turned from her station, her scaled face calm. "We have crossed the first human security perimeter." No response detected. Their sensors passed right through us. A ripple of satisfaction moved through the crew. 20 Kael'thir sat at their stations, each one a specialist in surveillance and intelligence gathering. They had trained for years for this mission, studying human languages, human technology, and human behavior. The Dominion never acted without knowledge, and knowledge required watching. "Bring us closer to the fleet," Velcross ordered. "I want to see these humans up close." The ship glided forward, moving between the planets of the Proxima system. Ahead of them, the human Third Fleet performed their exercises. Velcross counted 53 vessels, ranging from small patrol craft to massive battleships. The largest ship, marked with the designation UESS Indomitable, sat at the center of the formation like a queen surrounded by workers. The humans had painted their ships in gray and white, colors that seemed foolish to Velcross. Why advertise your position? Why not hide? But then again, these were young creatures barely out of their cradle world. They probably didn't understand the sophisticated art of concealment. "Recording all data," announced Sekthar, the intelligence officer. "I am capturing their communication frequencies, weapon signatures, and power outputs. Their technology is primitive but functional. They use basic fusion drives and kinetic weapons. No stealth capabilities detected." Velcross allowed himself a small smile. The Dominion had been right to worry, but perhaps they had worried too much. These humans were children playing with toys, not the dangerous enemy that some had feared. Still, he would be thorough. The Dominion had survived for so long because they never underestimated anyone. "Take us between those two battleships," he said, pointing at a gap in the human formation. "I want to position us at the center of their fleet." Thelraz hesitated for a moment. "Hierarch, are you certain?" "That is very close." "If they detect us—" "They will not detect us," Velcross interrupted. "We passed through their security perimeter without triggering a single alarm. Their sensors are decades behind ours. We could park on their flagship's hull and they would never know." The Whisper of Silence moved forward, slipping between the two human battleships with meters to spare. Velcross watched the massive human vessels through the viewscreen, studying their design. They were built heavy and strong with thick armor and powerful weapons. The humans clearly believed in direct confrontation rather than subtlety. "We are now inside their formation," Thelros reported. "Distance to the flagship 15,000 meters. Still no detection." "Perfect." Velcross activated the deep scanning systems, sending invisible beams of energy through the human ships. The scanners penetrated their hulls, mapping everything inside. He could see the humans moving through their corridors, sitting at their stations, eating in their mess halls. They had no idea they were being watched. Over the next 6 hours, the Kelthir recorded everything. They captured the humans' tactical communications, noting how their commanders spoke to each other. They analyzed the fleet's formation patterns, looking for weaknesses in their positioning. They measured the power output of every weapon system, calculating range and destructive capacity. They even intercepted personal messages between crew members, learning about human culture and psychology. Sekthar compiled the data into organized files. "The humans favor aggressive tactics," he reported. "Their formations are designed for direct assault rather than defensive positioning. They appear to rely on numerical superiority and firepower rather than strategy. Their command structure is hierarchical, but allows for individual initiative, which creates both flexibility and potential chaos." "What about their weaknesses?" Velcross asked. "Numerous," Sekthar replied. "Their reactor cores are exposed to specific frequency attacks. Their communication systems can be jammed easily. Their formation leaves gaps that a smaller, faster force could exploit. And they appear to have no counter-stealth capabilities whatsoever. They cannot detect what they cannot see." Velcross felt satisfaction warm his chest. The mission was a complete success. The Dominion would be pleased. They now had detailed intelligence on human military capabilities, and the humans remained completely unaware of the observation. This was how the Kelthir had always operated, watching from the shadows, learning secrets, and using that knowledge to stay ahead of potential threats. "Begin preparing departure protocols," Velcross ordered. "We have what we came for. We will compile our full report during the journey home." The crew worked efficiently, organizing their data and preparing the ship for the long journey back to Dominion space. Velcross walked slowly around the command center, feeling the pride of a successful mission. The humans had been easy targets. Their security was laughable compared to the sophisticated systems of older civilizations. He paused at a viewport, looking out at the human flagship. Somewhere inside that massive ship, a human admiral sat in a command chair, completely ignorant of the Kelthir presence. Velcross wondered what the human would think if they knew they had been infiltrated so easily. Probably panic. Young species always panicked when they realized how vulnerable they were. "Hierarch," Thelros called out. "We are ready to depart. Setting course for the system's edge." "Proceed," Velcross said. "Take us out slowly. No sudden movements. Maintain stealth protocols until we are well clear of human space." The whisper of silence began to move, backing away from the human fleet with the same care it had used to approach. Velcross watched the human ships grow smaller on the view screen. The mission had been perfect. Absolutely perfect. In the intelligence section, Sekthar smiled as he packaged the final data files. "The ruling caste will celebrate this achievement," he said to a colleague. "We have penetrated human space, observed their most powerful fleet, and learned their secrets without them ever knowing we were here. This is why the Kelthir are the greatest intelligence service in the galaxy." His colleague nodded in agreement. The humans never stood a chance. They didn't even know they were being hunted. Velcross heard the comment and allowed himself a moment of pride. Yes, the humans had been completely unaware. The Kelthir had once again proven their superiority. As the whisper of silence cleared the inner system and prepared to jump to hyperspace, Velcross thought about the commendations he would receive, the honors that would be bestowed upon his crew. He never imagined that at that exact moment, aboard the UESS Indomitable, Admiral Sarah Chen was watching his ship on a holographic display. A slight smile on her face as she turned to her intelligence officer and said quietly, "Let them go. We have them exactly where we want them." Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the UESS Indomitable, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the holographic display floating in front of her. A small red dot moved slowly through the blue spheres that represented her fleet. The dot was the Kelthir spy ship, completely unaware that it had been visible to human sensors since the moment it entered the system. "How long have they been recording us?" she asked. Commander Marcus Webb, her intelligence officer, checked his console. 6 hours, 17 minutes. They've scanned every ship in the formation. They're being very thorough, Chen nodded slowly. Webb was one of the best intelligence officers in the human fleet. A man who understood that warfare had changed. Space battles weren't just about who had bigger guns anymore. They were about who had better information, better deception, and better strategic thinking. Have they taken the bait? Chen asked. Webb smiled. Every bit of it, Admiral. They intercepted our staged communications about the reactor vulnerabilities. They recorded our fake tactical doctrines. They even captured the personal messages we planted about crew morale issues. As far as they know, they've learned all our secrets. Good. Chen turned to her tactical officer. Status of the real Third Fleet? Standing by in hyperspace, Admiral. They can jump in on your command. All stealth platforms are in position. Hunter-killer drones are deployed throughout the system. The Kael'thir are completely surrounded. They just don't know it yet. Chen had been planning this operation for 3 months, ever since her intelligence people had detected unusual quantum fluctuations near human space. The signatures matched reports from other species who had been infiltrated by Kael'thir spies. The Dominion had a reputation across the galaxy as masters of stealth and surveillance. They had been watching other civilizations for thousands of years, always staying hidden, always gathering secrets. But they had made one critical mistake. They had assumed that human technology was as primitive as it appeared. The truth was more complicated. Humanity had developed quantum entanglement sensors 5 years ago, a breakthrough that made traditional stealth technology obsolete. The sensors could detect the tiny distortions in spacetime that any physical object created, no matter how well hidden. But humanity had kept this technology secret, deliberately showing the galaxy only their conventional sensors while building a network of quantum detection systems throughout their space. When the Kael'thir entered human territory, they had no idea they were lighting up like a beacon on every human monitoring station. Chen had immediately seen the opportunity. Instead of destroying the spy ship or driving it away, she could turn it into an asset. She could feed the Kael'thir false information, while using their own spy mission to track them back to their hidden homeworld. And more importantly, she could send a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity was not an easy target. They're preparing to leave, Webb announced. The spy ship is moving toward the system's edge. Let them go, Chen said calmly. But make sure our tracking packages are active. 3 weeks earlier, during the Kael'thir ship's approach, Chen had ordered a precision strike that appeared to miss by centimeters. In reality, human weapons had delivered microscopic nanites onto the alien hull, tiny machines that would broadcast the ship's location using quantum signals that the Kael'thir couldn't detect or block. The spy ship was now a homing beacon. Tracking confirmed, Admiral. The nanites are functioning perfectly. We'll be able to follow them anywhere. Chen walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. She had grown up on Earth in a small town in northern China before joining the military. Her grandmother had told her stories about the old ways of hunting, how patience and preparation mattered more than strength. Her grandmother had been a hunter in the mountains, tracking animals through snow and forest. Chen had learned those lessons well. What are your orders, Admiral? Her tactical officer asked. We wait 5 minutes after they jump to hyperspace, Chen said. Then we follow them. Not too close. Stay exactly 50,000 kilometers behind them. I want them to know we're there. You want them to know? Webb looked surprised. Chen turned to face him. Commander, we're not just tracking them to find their homeworld. We're teaching them a lesson. They came here thinking they were invisible predators stalking blind prey. I want them to understand what it feels like to be hunted. 20 minutes later, the Kael'thir ship jumped to hyperspace. Chen counted down 5 minutes exactly, then gave the order. 4 human warships jumped after them, appearing in hyperspace exactly 50,000 kilometers behind the fleeing spy vessel. Maintain that distance precisely, Chen ordered. Don't get closer, don't fall back. I want them to look over their shoulder and see us there every single time. The pursuit began. Chen didn't need to be on one of the pursuing ships. She returned to her quarters and began coordinating the larger operation. Because while 4 ships were following the Kael'thir spy vessel, hundreds of other human ships were moving into position throughout the galaxy. Human intelligence had been studying the Kael'thir for years, gathering clues about their territory, and the tracking data from the spy ship was filling in the gaps. Over the next 3 weeks, Chen watched reports come in from her pursuing ships. The Kelthir were trying everything to lose their followers. They jumped through radiation zones, used gravitational slingshots around black holes and hid in asteroid fields. But every time they looked back, the human ships were still there. Patient, relentless, unchanging. They tried to self-destruct their ship, Webb reported during one of their daily briefings. Our cyber warfare AI prevented it. We've infiltrated their systems completely. They can't even destroy themselves. Chen felt a moment of sympathy for the Kelthir crew. They must be terrified. But sympathy didn't change her mission. The galaxy needed to learn that humanity could not be spied upon with impunity. They're heading home, Webb continued. We've confirmed the location of Kelthir Prime. It matches our predictions. They'll arrive in approximately 48 hours. Good. Is the main fleet ready? Yes, Admiral. 317 ships standing by. We've also positioned assets near 17 different Kelthir colony worlds. The Dominion is completely surrounded and they don't even know it yet. Chen pulled up a star chart, looking at the web of red dots that marked Kelthir territories. Humanity had been busy. While the Dominion was focused on spying on human fleets, humans had been quietly mapping every Dominion installation, every hidden base, every secret facility. Human intelligence had infiltrated Kelthir networks, cracked their codes, and compromised their security. The spies had been spied upon. When they arrive at their homeworld, we jump in with the full fleet, Chen said. But we don't fire a shot unless they fire first. This is a demonstration, not a massacre. Understood, Admiral. What if they surrender immediately? Then we accept their surrender and dictate terms. What if they fight? Webb was quiet for a moment. Admiral, if they fight, our projections show we could disable their entire defense fleet within 3 hours. They're numerically superior, but we have better positioning, better intelligence, and better technology. It wouldn't be a battle. It would be an execution. Chen nodded slowly. She hoped it wouldn't come to that. She didn't want to destroy the Kelthir civilization. She just wanted them to understand their mistake. 48 hours later, the Kelthir spy ship entered their home system. Chen was back on the bridge of the Indomitable, which had jumped ahead to join the main fleet. She watched the display as the spy ship raced toward its homeworld, probably sending desperate warnings about the human pursuit. Jump the fleet in, Chen ordered. Full formation. I want them to see all of us at once. Space tore open as hundreds of human ships emerged from hyperspace simultaneously. They appeared in a perfect sphere around Kelthir Prime. Every angle covered, every escape route blocked. Chen had positioned her fleet to show overwhelming force without threatening immediate attack. It was a demonstration of capability, not intent. On the planet below, she knew the Kelthir were panicking. Their sensors would be going crazy. Their defense fleet would be mobilizing. And somewhere in their government buildings, their leaders would be realizing that they had made a terrible mistake. Chen opened a channel, broadcasting on all Kelthir frequencies. She had prepared her speech carefully, working with human linguists to make sure every word would translate correctly into the Kelthir language. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Service. We have come to deliver a message. Captain Thelras felt her hands shaking as she gripped the control panel. The jump to hyperspace should have saved them. It should have left the humans behind, confused and searching in normal space while the whisper of silence escaped into the faster-than-light currents. But when she checked the sensors, her heart sank. 4 human ships had followed them into hyperspace. They sat exactly 50,000 kilometers behind the whisper of silence, matching speed, maintaining perfect distance. It was impossible. No one could track a ship through hyperspace. The math didn't work. The physics didn't allow it. How? Velcross demanded, his voice rising for the first time since Thelras had known him. How are they following us? Sekthar worked frantically at his station, running diagnostic after diagnostic. I don't know, Hierarch. Our stealth systems are functioning perfectly. We're leaving no trail. There's no radiation signature, no gravitational wake, nothing they should be able to detect. But they're there. They're definitely there. Thelras made a decision, executing evasive pattern theta, taking us through the Crimson Nebula. The radiation there will blind any sensors. The whisper of silence changed course, diving into a massive cloud of ionized gas that stretched across several light years. The nebula was deadly, filled with electromagnetic storms that could fry electronics and radiation that could kill unshielded crews. But the Kelthir ship was designed to survive such environments. Surely the humans wouldn't follow them into this death trap. They spent 6 hours navigating through the nebula, dodging plasma storms and radiation spikes. When they emerged on the far side, Thelras allowed herself a moment of hope. She checked the sensors, looking for the space behind them. The 4 human ships were still there, 50,000 kilometers back, unchanged, unharmed. "This is madness," Sekthar whispered. "They shouldn't be able to do this. Our technology is 10,000 years old. We've perfected stealth. We've studied every detection method in the galaxy. There's no way they should be tracking us." Velcross stood frozen on the command platform. Thelras had served under him for 20 years and had never seen him look uncertain. But now his 3 eyes were wide, and his scales had turned pale with stress. "Try the black hole slingshot," Velcross finally said. "The gravitational distortion should break any tracking lock." Thelras set course for the nearest black hole, a collapsed star that warped space-time around it like a whirlpool. They dove close to the event horizon, using the intense gravity to whip them around and accelerate to extreme speeds. The maneuver was dangerous even for experienced pilots. If they got too close, they would be pulled in and destroyed. But Thelras executed it perfectly, feeling the ship strain as it bent around the black hole and shot out in a new direction at impossible velocity. For a moment, the sensors showed empty space behind them. Then, like ghosts materializing from nothing, the 4 human ships completed the same maneuver and resumed their position. 50,000 kilometers. Always 50,000 kilometers. "They're playing with us," Thelras realized, her voice hollow. "They're showing us that they can follow us anywhere." "This isn't pursuit. This is a demonstration." The crew fell silent. Everyone understood what she meant. The humans weren't trying to catch them or destroy them. They were teaching them a lesson. They were showing the Kelthir what it felt like to be hunted. Days turned into weeks. The whisper of silence ran through every trick in the Kelthir playbook. They jumped through asteroid fields, forcing the humans to navigate through millions of tumbling rocks. The human ships followed. They used gravity assists from multiple planets in succession, a maneuver so complex that it required perfect timing. The human ships matched them. They even tried hiding in the atmosphere of a gas giant, hoping the dense clouds would mask their signature. The human ships waited in orbit above until the whisper of silence had to leave, then resumed their pursuit. Thelras stopped sleeping. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those 4 ships on her sensors, constant as fate. The crew was falling apart. Kelthir psychology wasn't built for this. They were predators, yes, but ambush predators. They hunted from hiding, striking quickly and disappearing. They weren't built to be prey. They weren't built to be hunted across the galaxy by something that never tired, never gave up, and never let them escape. Sekthar came to her in private after the 3rd week. His eyes were bloodshot, and his scales had lost their healthy sheen. "Captain," he said quietly, "I've been analyzing the human pursuit patterns. I think I understand what they're doing." "Tell me," Thelras said, hoping for any insight that might help. "They're tracking us home. They want us to lead them to Kelthir Prime. Our homeworld's location is the most closely guarded secret in the Dominion. We've kept it hidden for 10,000 years. No enemy has ever found it, but we're leading them straight to it." Thelras felt ice spread through her body. "That's impossible." "We would never. I would never. We have to go home eventually," Sekthar said. "We're running low on supplies. Our systems are showing stress from all these extreme maneuvers. And even if we could run forever, where would we go? We're Kelthir. We need to return home. The humans know this. They're not forcing us to go home. They're just waiting for the inevitable." Thelras thought about altering course, leading the humans away from Dominion space. But where? Into neutral territory? That would start a war with other species. Into empty space? They would die when supplies ran out. There was nowhere to go except home. And home meant betraying the most important secret their civilization possessed. "We could self-destruct," she said quietly. Sekthar shook his head. "I've tried. Multiple times. The ship's self-destruct system isn't responding. I think the humans have infiltrated our computers. They've locked us out of our own ship's critical systems." The full horror of the situation settled on Thelras like a weight. They were trapped in their own vessel, unable to stop it, unable to destroy it, unable to do anything except run on a path that would inevitably lead the humans to their homeworld. She went to Velcross and reported everything. The hierarch listened in silence, his face unreadable. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. "How did we miss this?" he finally asked. "We studied the humans. We analyzed their technology. We observed their behavior. How did we not realize what they were capable of?" "They deceived us," Thelras said. "Everything we observed was false. Everything we learned was what they wanted us to learn. We thought we were spying on them, but they were controlling what we saw from the beginning." Velcross touched the wall of the ship as if seeking comfort from the metal. "The Dominion needs to know. They need to understand what's coming. Send a quantum message. Tell them everything. Tell them that the humans are far more dangerous than we thought. Tell them that we failed and that we're bringing the enemy home." Thelras sent the message, knowing it would take days to reach Kelthir Prime. She imagined the panic it would cause. The ruling caste would mobilize the entire defense fleet. They would activate every weapon platform, every hidden base, every defensive measure they possessed. They would prepare for war. The whisper of silence continued its journey home, and the 4 human ships followed like patient predators. Thelras watched them on her sensors every day, those small dots that never wavered, never tired, never stopped. She wondered who commanded those ships. Were they celebrating? Did they understand the fear they were causing? Or were they simply doing their job, following orders, executing a mission? She wondered if humans felt fear the way Kelthir did. She wondered if anything scared them. When the whisper of silence finally jumped into the Kelthir home system, Thelras felt no relief. Only dread. The system was filled with Dominion ships, thousands of them, all ready for battle. Orbital weapons platforms surrounded Kelthir Prime like a deadly shell. It was the most powerful defense force the Dominion had ever assembled. "At least we can warn them properly now," Sekthar said, trying to find hope. "With the entire fleet ready, maybe we can—" He stopped talking as space behind them tore open. Not 4 ships this time. Hundreds of ships. Human vessels emerged from hyperspace in a perfect sphere around the planet, surrounding everything, covering every angle. They appeared simultaneously, as if they had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times. Thelras stared at the display, counting ships, calculating odds. The humans had brought enough firepower to glass their homeworld 3 times over, and somehow she knew they had even more ships she couldn't see, hidden with the same technology that had let them track the whisper of silence. "We didn't lead them here," she said softly. "They already knew where we were." Velcross stood in the emergency council chamber deep beneath the surface of Kelthir Prime. Around him, the 5 members of the ruling caste sat in their elevated positions, their ancient faces showing emotions that Velcross had never seen before. Pure, undiluted fear. "Explain this catastrophe," demanded High Matriarch Selvana, the eldest of the caste. "You were sent to observe the humans quietly. Instead, you have brought an invasion fleet to our homeworld." "Matriarch, we were detected from the moment we entered human space," Velcross said, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Everything we observed was false information they wanted us to see. They have technology we didn't know existed. They tracked us through hyperspace using methods we cannot understand, and they have been mapping our entire territory while we were focused on them." "Impossible," said cast member Vorthak. "Our stealth technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. No one can track our ships when the humans can," Velcross replied, "and they have demonstrated it perfectly. They didn't just track one ship. Look at the orbital scans. They have forces positioned near 17 of our colony worlds. They know where everything is. Every base, every installation, every secret facility we thought was hidden. They know all of it. The council chamber's main display activated, showing the positions of human ships throughout Dominion space. Red markers appeared like a disease spreading across their territory. Everywhere the Kelthir had thought themselves safe, human forces waited." High Matriarch Selvana looked at the display for a long time. "How many ships do they have above us?" 317, reported the military coordinator. "Our defense fleet numbers 3,042 vessels. We have numerical superiority. We also have the planetary defense platforms and the stealth armada. If we engage, we can win, can we?" Selvana asked quietly. "If they knew everything else about us, do you think they don't know about our stealth armada? Do you think they haven't planned for that?" The chamber fell silent. The stealth armada was the Dominion's ultimate weapon, a fleet of advanced warships that could strike from perfect concealment. It was their guarantee that even if someone found Kelthir Prime, they could never hold it. But if the humans could track ships through hyperspace, could detect stealth vessels in normal space, then the stealth armada was just another collection of targets. "They're hailing us," announced a communications officer. "The message is broadcasting on all frequencies, including civilian channels. Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Service requests to speak with the ruling caste." "All frequencies?" Vorthak looked horrified. "They're broadcasting to our entire population?" "Yes, caste member. Every device on the planet is receiving the transmission. Every city, every home, every personal communicator. They've bypassed our government networks entirely." Silvana closed her eyes briefly, understanding the implications. The humans weren't just demonstrating military superiority. They were showing that they had infiltrated Kyle Thier systems so completely that they could speak directly to the population, bypassing all government control. It was a message within a message. "We own your networks, we own your infrastructure, we own everything." "Put it on screen," Silvana said. "Let us hear what they have to say." The holographic display shifted to show a human female in a dark blue uniform. She looked young by Kael'thir standards, but her eyes were old. She had the look of someone who had seen war and understood it completely. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Service," the human said, her voice calm and clear as it was simultaneously translated into Kael'thir language. "I am speaking not just to your government, but to every citizen of the Kael'thir Dominion. What I am about to say is important for all of you to hear." She paused, and the pause felt calculated, giving her words weight. "3 months ago, your government sent a spy ship into human space. The Whisper of Silence entered our territory, infiltrated our fleet exercises, and attempted to steal our military secrets. Your leaders believed this was a successful operation. They believed we never detected them. This was incorrect." On the screen, a recording appeared showing the Whisper of Silence moving through the human fleet, every moment captured in perfect detail from multiple angles. "We detected your ship the moment it entered our space," Chen continued. "We tracked it constantly. We knew every movement it made, every scan it performed, every message it sent. We allowed it to observe us because we wanted to control what it learned. Everything your spies saw was false information designed to mislead you." The recordings continued, showing human technicians planting fake data, actors performing staged conversations, and engineers creating false vulnerabilities in ship systems. The Kael'thir watching realized with growing horror that their intelligence gathering had been completely compromised. "Your ship tried to escape," Chen said. "We followed it for 3 weeks. We demonstrated that we could track you anywhere, through any obstacle, using any evasive maneuver. We did not destroy your ship because we wanted you to lead us home. And you did." The display showed the long pursuit, the Whisper of Silence desperately trying to escape while the human ships followed with patient precision. "However, we did not need your ship to find your homeworld," Chen said, and those words sent ice through Velcross's body. "We already knew where it was. We have known for 6 months. While you were watching us, we were watching you. While you thought you were learning our secrets, we were learning yours." The display changed again, showing dates and locations. Human intelligence operations throughout Dominion space going back months. Every operation had been successful. The Kael'thir had been completely blind to it. "We know the location of every military base you operate," Chen said. "Every hidden facility, every classified project, every member of your stealth armada, which is currently positioning itself for a surprise attack that we have been anticipating for the past 2 hours. In orbit above Kael'thir Prime, several dozen Kael'thir stealth ships suddenly found themselves painted by human targeting lasers. Their positions were revealed, their perfect concealment stripped away. The crews of those ships knew immediately that they were dead if the humans decided to fire. "We have compromised your entire network," Chen continued. "Your communication systems, your computer networks, your defense platforms, all of it. We could shut down your planetary shields right now. We could disable your ships. We could target your government buildings with precision strikes. We could end your civilization in an afternoon." Velcross watched the faces of the ruling caste. They looked like people staring into an abyss, seeing their own deaths approaching with mathematical certainty. But then Chen's expression changed. Her voice softened slightly, taking on a different tone. "But we won't," she said, "because unlike you, we don't believe in attacking first. We don't believe in destroying civilizations that haven't actually harmed us. You attempted espionage. We could have responded with annihilation. Instead, we chose to respond with a demonstration of overwhelming strategic superiority. This is your lesson. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes seeming to look directly at everyone watching. You have a choice to make. You can choose peace or you can choose destruction. If you choose peace, we will establish terms. You will open your military operations to transparency. You will dismantle your offensive intelligence operations. You will join the Terran Concordat as a junior partner. You will learn to work with humanity instead of against us. If you choose war, and here her voice became harder, colder, we will systematically dismantle every military asset you possess. We will disable your fleet without destroying it. We will demonstrate so completely that you cannot win that your own population will remove your government for forcing them into an unwinnable conflict. And when it is over, the terms will be much worse than what I'm offering now. She sat back in her chair. You have 24 hours to make your decision. Decide carefully. The choice is yours, but the consequences are permanent. Chen out. The transmission ended. The council chamber was completely silent. Velcross looked at the faces around him and saw the same realization in all of them. They had already lost. The battle was over before it began. The humans had won without firing a single shot. High Matriarch Sylvana spoke quietly. Contact the human flagship. Tell them we wish to discuss terms. She looked around at the other cast members. Does anyone disagree? No one spoke. Then it is decided. Send the message. Tell Admiral Chen that the Kyle-Thir Dominion surrenders unconditionally. It took 6 hours, not 24. 50 years had passed since what the Kyle-Thir called the humbling. Velcross walked slowly through the halls of the Intelligence Academy, his body bent with age, his scales faded to a dull gray. He was old now, ancient even by Kyle-Thir standards, but he still taught twice a week. The young needed to hear his story. They needed to understand what their civilization had learned. The classroom was full when he entered. 30 young Kyle-Thir looked up at him with respect and curiosity. They had grown up in the new era, the age of transparency and cooperation with humanity. They had never known the old Dominion, the civilization that had thought itself supreme in the arts of stealth and intelligence. Good morning, Velcross said, settling into his chair at the front of the room. Today we continue our study of the humbling. Can anyone tell me what mistakes we made? A young female in the front row raised her hand. We underestimated the humans. We thought they were primitive. Correct, but incomplete, Velcross said. We didn't just underestimate them. We made a fundamental error in our thinking. We assumed that because we had perfected one approach to intelligence gathering, that approach was the best. We assumed our way was the only way. This is what I call strategic blindness. He activated the holographic display, showing images from that fateful mission so many years ago. The whisper of silence moving through the human fleet. The long pursuit. The arrival at Kyle-Thir Prime. The surrender. The humans detected us immediately, Velcross continued. Their quantum entanglement sensors made our stealth technology obsolete. But here is the important question. Why didn't we know about this technology? We had been observing humans for years. We had spies throughout their space. Why didn't we learn about their sensor breakthrough? A young male in the back spoke up. Because we were looking for the wrong things. We were analyzing their conventional technology and assuming it represented their full capabilities. Exactly, Velcross said. We saw what we expected to see. We looked for technology similar to ours and concluded they didn't have it. We never considered that they might have developed something completely different. This is the danger of expertise. When you become very good at one thing, you sometimes become blind to alternatives. He paused, letting them think about that. Outside the window he could see human ships in orbit alongside Kyle-Thir vessels. The sight had been strange at first, but now it was normal. The two species worked together now, combining Kyle-Thir stealth technology with human detection systems, to create an intelligence network that was truly unmatched in the galaxy. Let me tell you something else about humans, Velcross said, his voice growing softer. Something I learned when I met Admiral Chen after the surrender. The students leaned forward, interested. This part of the story was rarely discussed in the official histories. 6 months after the surrender, I was invited to Earth. The human government wanted to establish working relationships with former Dominion intelligence officers. I met with Admiral Chen in her office at the United Earth Space Command. I asked her the question that had haunted me since the moment her fleet appeared at Kelthir Prime. How did they detect us when species 1,000 years more advanced could not? Velcross remembered that meeting vividly. Even after 50 years, Chen had been gracious, offering him tea from Earth, speaking to him with respect despite his role in the incident. She explained it to me, Velcross continued. She said that the Kelthir evolved as ambush predators who hide and strike. Our entire biology and psychology developed around being unseen. We built our civilization around this natural talent. We perfected stealth because it was in our nature. He gestured to the students. All of you understand this. It is who we are. We are the shadows, the watchers, the unseen. This is our strength. But Admiral Chen explained that humans are different. They evolved as persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? A student raised her hand. They chase prey over long distances until it collapses from exhaustion. Yes, Velcross said. Humans evolved on a world where they were not the strongest or the fastest. They survived by being relentless, by never giving up, by tracking prey across vast distances until the prey could run no more. This shaped their psychology just as our ambush predator nature shaped ours. He pulled up an image of Admiral Chen from that long-ago meeting. She told me that while we perfected hiding, humans perfected finding. Their entire civilization is built around patterns, tracking, and problem-solving. When something is hidden, their instinct is not to give up but to search harder, think differently, try new approaches. They are biologically driven to uncover hidden things. But there's more, Velcross continued. Admiral Chen said something that I think about every day. She said, humans grew up on a death world where everything tried to kill us. We learned to be paranoid. We expect threats, we prepare for threats. When you entered our space, we didn't think nobody's there. We thought something's definitely there. We just need to find it. He let those words hang in the air. The students were silent, processing this information. Do you understand what this means? Velcross asked. While we were congratulating ourselves on our perfect stealth, the humans were assuming we were there and working to find us. Our approach was to hide better. Their approach was to assume they were being watched and to prepare accordingly. One of these approaches is defensive. The other is paranoid. But in intelligence work, paranoia is often correct. A student raised his hand. Instructor, why didn't humans destroy us? They had the power, they had the advantage. In the old galaxy, the strong destroyed the weak. Why did they show mercy? Velcross smiled slightly. I asked Admiral Chen that same question. She said something that surprised me. She said, because we're not trying to rule the galaxy through fear. We're trying to survive in a dangerous universe. Having allies is more useful than having corpses. Then she said, besides, you Kelthir are excellent at what you do. Once we understood your capabilities, we realized we'd be stupid to destroy you. Better to work together. He gestured to the window, where the mixed fleet orbited. And that is what happened. The terms of surrender were harsh but not crippling. We gave up our offensive intelligence operations. We accepted transparency in our military affairs. We joined the Terran Concordat as junior partners. But in exchange, we gained access to human technology, human protection, and human cooperation. Today, Kelthir intelligence officers work side by side with human counterparts. Velcross continued. Our stealth technology combined with their detection systems creates something neither species could achieve alone. We teach them concealment. They teach us persistence. Together we have created the most effective intelligence network in the known galaxy. He paused, looking at the young faces before him. But never forget the lesson of the humbling. We are no longer the supreme power we once thought we were. We are partners in a larger alliance. This is both humbling and liberating. We don't have to be perfect anymore. We don't have to hide our weaknesses. We can admit what we don't know and learn from others who have different strengths. A young female in the middle of the room raised her hand tentatively. Instructor, do you regret what happened? Velcross considered the question carefully. I regret that my mission led to such consequences for our civilization. I regret the fear I caused for Captain Thelras and her crew. I regret that we lost our independence, but I do not regret the outcome. We are stronger now as part of the Concordat than we ever were alone, and we are alive, which we might not have been if we had chosen to fight. He stood slowly, his old bones protesting. Remember this. In intelligence, work knowing yourself is as important as knowing your enemy. We thought we knew ourselves. We thought we were apex predators, but we were wrong. We were just very successful prey who had never met our hunter. The humans taught us that lesson not through destruction, but through demonstration. They showed us the difference between being unseen and being truly secure. Being unseen makes you comfortable. Being secure requires constant vigilance, constant improvement, constant paranoia. He looked at each student in turn. You are the new generation. You will work with humans, not against them. Learn from them. Learn their persistence, their paranoia, their obsession with solving unsolvable problems. Combine it with our skills in concealment and patience. Together, we can accomplish things neither species could achieve alone. But most importantly, and here his voice became very serious, never underestimate another species because they are young, or because they do things differently than you. The humans were in space for only 300 years when they defeated a civilization that had existed for 10,000. Age does not guarantee wisdom. Experience does not guarantee superiority. Adaptability beats tradition. Innovation beats habit. Remember that. The class ended. The students filed out quietly, thinking about what they had learned. Velcross remained in the classroom, looking out at the mixed fleet in orbit. He thought about Captain Thelras, who had died 20 years ago, still haunted by those 3 weeks of being hunted. He thought about the ruling caste, all dead now, replaced by younger leaders who had grown up in the new era.